Stepping inside the Guardian building is kinda like entering a kaleidoscope. You're surrounded by colorful tiles, detailed designs, top to bottom, wall to wall. And that's just the lobby. The entire building is filled with pieces that aren't just beautiful, they're one of a kind, easily making it one of the most beloved and fascinating structures in Detroit. It's difficult to imagine the city without the Guardian building, or how people would react to losing it. But only 4 years after the building opened, its future was already in question. Because in 1933, the owners of the Guardian building were in trouble. After years of struggling, the Union Guardian Trust Company collapsed, becoming another victim of the Great Depression. This immediately sent shockwaves through the Detroit economy, as one of the city's most prominent financial institutions shut down, never opening for business again. So how am I standing in their former headquarters nearly 100 years later? It's a remarkable story. Today we'll look at the history of the Guardian building, as well as the company that built it, to understand why it was built, and how it has survived.
Dynamic Detroit, motor capital of the world.
Detroit has the people who know the importance of following through.
Detroit, USA.
This is the city of Detroit, in the state of Michigan.
So there's a ton of different designs and motifs found throughout the building, but one of the cool ones you can see is right here in the elevator doors. There's a tile that makes a U and a T shape. The reason behind this is because of the company's original owner, Union Trust. And without Union Trust, none of this is here. Like the name suggests, Union Trust was a company that worked with trusts, an important part of the financial sector to this day. It's all built off a simple arrangement. Say you have assets or an estate that you want to give to someone else, but you don't want to hand those things over right away. You only want to give them up under specific conditions. Instead of trying to manage and distribute them yourself, you agree to let someone else do it for you until the time is right. All trusts follow this sequence of assets going from the trustor to the trustee and finally the beneficiary. These types of contracts have existed for centuries, but their role in business isn't uniform. The laws and regulations change from place to place, and in the US, they change with each state. Which is why Michigan didn't have its first trust company until 1889. They simply weren't allowed. Even after they were permitted, the first trust company was created in Grand Rapids, not Detroit, leaving the largest city in the state untouched. So in 1891, Union Trust was established to fill the void and to capitalize on the city's potential. The success was almost instant. To say Union Trust tapped into the market would be a massive understatement. The company quickly expanded beyond trust, adding new departments and services such as title insurance for local properties. As a result, Union Trust catered to many different customers and quickly diversified its income. This allowed Union Trust to grow from within instead of relying on mergers and acquisitions to expand. So only a few years after its creation, Union Trust already solidified its position as a top financial firm in the city. Its quick growth proved the company was full of potential and knew how to utilize it. And it was clear to see to even casual observers. In 1892, the company ran ads in the Detroit Free Press claiming to have $500,000 in cash capital, about $15 million today. 4 years later, they opened their brand new building downtown for an estimated $750,000, or about $24.4 million today. It was a major milestone that not only gave the company more office space, it boosted the company's prestige, with rumors spreading that other property owners wanted to invest downtown to keep up with the growing Union Trust Company. The development of Union Trust was something to marvel at, and based off the headlines the company made, it was clear that people were paying attention. But as impressive as the growth was, it shouldn't have been surprising. Although the Michigan Manufacturer and Financial Record described the start of Union Trust as a humble beginning, that couldn't be further from the truth. Its founding members were some of the wealthiest and most powerful people in the city, and arguably the state. The list of founders included a sitting U.S. Senator, a future Secretary of War, and possibly 88 more of Detroit's wealthiest residents, according to one report, giving Union Trust access to economic and political capital, as well as intangible resources such as business experience and connections. But the company did grow, even as founding members stepped down. And entering the 1920s, the company was more powerful than when it started. By the early 1920s, Union Trust had fundamentally changed. It had more wealth, different leaders, and more employees, just to name a few things. But one of the things that stayed the same was the company's headquarters, a building constructed when the company was fairly new and much smaller. And by 1925, there wasn't any space left. After years of working around this, the company thought it was time for a permanent solution. They needed a new building, one that not only solved their space problem, but also supported their potential growth. Normally, companies try to achieve this while delicately balancing factors like space, cost, and location, often searching for a solution that is both functional and economical. Of course, Union Trust wasn't normal. They secured half a block of land in a prime location, spending over $1.3 million, or about $20 million today, just to acquire 4 of the 5 buildings they needed. This activity caught the attention of the press, but the company didn't try and cover up its plans. Instead, the president of Union Trust confirmed it was for a new building, even promising it will be a big one. A big statement only a few months after the company started planning their new building. It was a bold decision to be so upfront so early into the project, but Union Trust was willing to go above and beyond to create a unique building. And in the design phase, they consistently proved that it wasn't just talk. When the company hired designers for the project in 1926, they made 2 crucial decisions. They hired arguably the best architects in the city, choosing Wirt Rowland and the firm Smith Hinchman & Grills to lead the design for the building. The company also didn't interfere with Rowland or SHG's ideas. They emphasized a few principles of Union Trust and allowed the architects to figure out how to represent them in the building. Rowland did occasionally run his ideas by the company's leaders, but every time the feedback was enthusiastic. At one point, the company's president told him, "If you think that is what we should have, and you recommend it, we'll go along with you," clearly giving Rowland the green light. Rowland's vision for the building was beyond anything they could imagine, making it a suitable headquarters and banking space, while also matching it with the elite status of its owners. Listing all the things that made the design special could be another video of its own. In Rowland's original design, the building included 2 vaults for safety deposit boxes and bank assets, a barbershop for men, a salon for women, both complete with custom furniture, a massive gate completely constructed out of Monel metal, a fully functional gun range in one of the basements, an open-air observation deck, a boardroom overlooking the Detroit Financial District, and 40-foot vaulted ceilings in the main banking area and lobby. Just to name a few things. Every inch was packed with detail, turning blueprints into hieroglyphics, and requiring precise coordination from every person involved in the process. It's not only hard to believe that this was all done by hand, but it only took Rowland and the other architects a few months to complete the design. Union Trust loved what Rowland did, immediately recognizing how special his design was. They revealed the building to the public with the official name being the Union Trust Building, but they advertised it with a more fitting one, the Cathedral of Finance, a nickname that has stuck ever since. The company wanted to bring Rowland's plan to life as soon as possible, so soon after the public announcement, crews were already getting to work. Construction on what was then the Union Trust Building would last for about 2 years, beginning with the demolition of buildings on the site in March of 1927, and ending with the Union Trust Building grand opening in April of 1929. This took longer than other projects in the city, even ones that Roland had been a part of. But considering how much work was required, it's truly surprising it didn't take longer. The building's extravagant design made construction a complicated process from both the technological and logistical standpoint. Things like sourcing rare materials, the number of bricks used throughout the building, and installing one of the first air conditioning systems in a skyscraper all added time to the project. But the biggest issue by far was figuring out how to support the floors above the banking area and lobby. In most skyscrapers, columns run from the foundation all the way to the highest floors, and in heavier buildings, they can start all the way down at bedrock. But as you can clearly see, there's no columns in the banking area or lobby, a major portion of the building. To avoid having columns run through every part of the building, the upper floors are also supported by 8 massive trusses above the banking area, each of them weighing between 55 and 75 tons. You can see where they're placed in this blueprint, and can see part of them in the mechanical basement. It was a brilliant solution from SHG's engineer William Wolfe, but of course, it was still a challenge to implement, requiring crews to install each truss in 3 phases to avoid any alterations or distortions to either the truss or the building. In the end, all the hard work paid off, and the company had the iconic building they wanted. The Union Trust Building instantly became the second tallest building in the city upon completion, with its highest roof standing 496 feet, or about 151 meters, above the street below. With construction complete, the company was eager to show off the building to the public, running full-page ads in the Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News, inviting the public to the grand opening. It was a moment of celebration, not only for Union Trust, but for Detroiters as well. On the first day, a reported 25 to 30,000 people showed up to get an up-close look at the city's newest skyscraper. For some, the building was another wonderful addition to the city's skyline, with them praising the design and the companies behind it. Others saw it as a symbol for the city's growth, reinforcing the idea that Detroit was as strong as ever, and that it was clear that investors believed that as well. The city's population had exponentially increased from 285,000 in 1900 to 1.56 million in 1930. And if this was what the city was like now, who knew what the future could hold? In the fall months of 1929, the New York Stock Exchange collapsed, setting off a chain of events resulting in a recession that affected the nation and soon the global economy. The Great Depression was the longest economic downturn of the 20th century, lasting at least a decade in the US alone. Millions of people lost their jobs, their homes, and struggled just to survive. This would have ripple effects in the Detroit financial sector and eventually Union Trust. But for a moment, the company didn't appear to be struggling. From the outside looking in, it seemed to be doing just fine. Union Trust had participated in 2 major moves prior to the crash, acquiring the National Bank of Commerce in 1928 and merging with the Guardian Group in 1929, just 1 month before the Wall Street collapse. These moves increased the company's assets and expanded its reach into banking, with the company even taking on a new name, transforming into the Union Guardian Trust Company. Despite all this activity and expansion, the situation was much different than it appeared. The reality was, the company was struggling and was barely holding on. Union Trust started showing more and more signs of weakness as the years went on, and by February of 1933, it was clear that the bank was on the brink of collapse. Its parent company, the Guardian Group, reached out to the federal government for help, but Michigan's own senator fought against this, refusing to give loans to a bank primarily viewed as the Ford family's responsibility. Without the loans from the federal government, the bank quickly approached state leaders to see if they could do anything to help. The state government didn't offer any loans, but they did come up with a solution. The governor could declare a bank holiday, temporarily suspending all bank operations in the state. This would give Union Trust time to find a source for funding and prevent panicked customers from trying to withdraw their deposits. But unless the company could actually come up with the money to cover the deposits, it was only a matter of time before it collapsed. It was the only real option the company had, and by this point, the state was interested in preventing an economic crisis in its largest city. The Michigan banking holiday is viewed by many experts as the leading cause of the 1933 bank crisis, with people in other cities like Indianapolis and Cleveland fearing potential failures in their own banks, leading to mass hysteria and a run on banks across the nation. More than 37 states went on to suspend banking activity after Governor Comstock's holiday declaration, ultimately leading to a national bank holiday declared by Franklin Roosevelt from March 6th to March 13th of that year. In 1974, Princeton professor Lester Chandler described the crisis as the most dramatic episode in American monetary and financial history, and at the root of it was the collapse of Union Guardian Trust. The failure of Union Trust wasn't just devastating, it was controversial, as many wondered how one of the largest banks in the city, one of the largest in the nation, could possibly fail, and if anything could have been done to avoid it. Multiple hearings were held to answer this, but most of it turned into finger-pointing and blame-shifting. Union Trust blamed the politicians blamed the company's poor business practices, with local papers covering the entire situation. Decades later in 1985, Goldman Sachs partner Barry Whitmore analyzed the crisis and criticized the federal response. But in the same book, he described the company as the bank most heavily committed to real estate, the weakest bank in the city, and the one whose closing precipitated the Michigan bank holiday. As the weeks and months went on, the hearing stopped, and Detroit focused on weathering through the ongoing recession. As Union Guardian Trust entered a receivership that lasted for 20 years, never opening for business again. Both lawmakers and business leaders used the failure of Union Guardian Trust to understand what banking reforms needed to be made. The changes made afterwards strengthened the banking system around the country, but it couldn't fully restore what cities lost. A thing that was clear in Detroit, as Union Trust cleared their offices from their former building. But the building wasn't abandoned. Although the Union Trust building did lose its biggest tenant, it was still open and accepting leases after the company collapsed. Because while the building was seen as Union Trust, legally it was owned by a subsidiary called the New Union Building Company. It did technically co-own the building with the collapsed company, but after a settlement in December of 1933, the Guardian Group had no more liability for paying off its lease or the remaining mortgage. The New Union Building Company was still in business, as long as they could pay off the mortgage. From here, it becomes tough to know the state of the building and how well its owners were doing. Based on ads and articles in the Detroit Free Press, the building still had many tenants and played host to countless events after Union Trust became insolvent. But things such as occupancy rate or the financial standings of its owners are not nearly as clear. During this period, there were two major things of note. The owners officially renamed the building to the Guardian Building in 1946, and the US military's use of the building. With other tenants agreeing to move out, the military had complete control over the building between 1942 and 1949, using it as a command center primarily through World War II. Although this was a large tenant that utilized the whole building, the New Union Building Company would later sue the government, seeking money to repair the building. The actual outcome of the suit isn't clear, but in 1949, the company would enter reorganization, showing signs of financial issues, before ultimately selling the building in 1951, selling to a single bidder for the price of $6 million. And with it, one of the last connections between Union Trust and the Guardian Building was finally severed. Although the connection to Union Trust was lost, the Guardian Building story was far from over. The building continued to stay open, changing owners multiple times throughout the 20th century and even into the 2000s. The building was still primarily used as an office building, but each owner made alterations to it, resulting in what the building is today. Sometimes these were functional additions, like Mishcon adding the Sky Bridge, or the Sterling Group converting a large portion of the banking area into retail space. The motivation behind other changes is not nearly as clear, like one owner covering the first floor windows with tiles, or the Guardian Building Company allegedly removing the word Union off of parts of the building in the 50s. The building maintains a lot of its grandeur after all the changes in nearly 100 years of existence. And that's really the point. The Guardian Building was designed to attract attention, to stand out from the crowd, and truly to make an impression on the people of Detroit. Even though the company behind its creation doesn't exist anymore, the building has succeeded at these two things for generations, as people from around the area, and even around the world, continue to appreciate its beauty. While it is unfortunate the Guardian Building didn't fully serve its original function, the fact that it's still standing is something to celebrate, especially as other historic buildings have either been demolished or have fallen victim to the elements or time. The Guardian Building has been a bank, a headquarters, and even a military command center, but it's never sat empty, not even when Detroit was going through its worst moments. And while it does have quite the legacy, my hope is that the next 100 years are even better. Thank you so much for watching my video. It definitely took longer than I thought it would to make this, but I am so happy with the final product, and I'm so happy to finally be able to share it with you. This project required a lot of work, and I put in as much effort as I could, but a lot of this wouldn't have been possible without the help from other people, and I do have to give those people a thanks. First and foremost, I have to give a huge thank you to the people over at the Guardian Building, not only for letting me go in there to take photos and videos, but helping me out throughout the day that I was there, and even showing me the original blueprints, which were amazing. There used to be free tours on the weekends of the building before, everything shut down. And I'm not sure if those have started back up again, but if you're in the area or that's something that might interest you, make sure to be on the lookout for that. I also have to give a huge thank you to Wayne State and the Walter P. Reuther Library for letting me use a lot of their photos from their digital collection. I wasn't sure they were going to say yes to that, but I was so grateful for it because it helps illustrate some of the things I'm talking about, especially because, obviously with historic photos and historic events, clearly I wasn't there. So having access to that was a huge amount of help. And the final thank you I just want to give is to everyone who's watched my other videos, even if they weren't, just Detroit Icon. The amount of encouragement and support I've received has blown me away because, I haven't really been active on here. So to see people still commenting and liking my video is something that I couldn't really dream of. If you like this style of content, make sure to like and subscribe because I do have more things planned for the future. If you have any questions about Union Trust or the Guardian Building, please be sure to leave them in the comments. I will be making a follow-up video for this, and I hope to answer as many questions as possible. I will be launching a Patreon in the next few days or weeks, and I will put that in the comments as soon as that's done. On it, I'll be doing things like, director's commentary on my videos, kind of explaining what it took to make and stories behind some of the photos and such, as well as giving, downloads to some of the photos that I take. If you're not in a position to financially support me, please do not worry about this. Take care of yourself first. And if you don't want to support me financially, that's your choice as well. This is really just for people who want to support my style of content or who are a bit interested in what I do beyond just the final Detroit Icons product. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, and thank you again just for being here and for watching this video. And wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, I truly do wish the best for you, and I hope that you have a good day.